My dad called my career filthy and cut me out of the family fortune, then asked me for $120,000 when my brother wrecked the family business. I was sitting in my apartment when my dad showed up unannounced. He looked older than I remembered. It had been 3 years since we last spoke. 3 years since he told me what I did for a living was filthy, and that I was no longer his daughter. I'm a bartender at a high-end cocktail lounge, not a strip club, not anything illegal. I make fancy drinks for people who wear suits that cost more than my rent. But to my dad, anything that wasn't his construction company was beneath our family. He wanted me to take over the business. I told him I hated construction. I hated the dust, the early mornings, the way he treated his workers like they were disposable. I wanted to do something else, anything else. When I told him I was going to bartending school, he laughed in my face, said I was wasting my time learning to pour drinks for drunks. I tried explaining that mixology was an actual skill, that I was good at it, that I was happy. He didn't care. The real blow-up happened at Sunday dinner. My brother Austin was there with his wife. Dad was going on about the business, about legacy, about family. Then he turned to me and asked when I was going to stop playing around and come work for him. I told him never. I told him I had a job I actually liked, that I was making decent money, that I didn't need his construction company. He slammed his fist on the table, called my career choice filthy, said I was serving alcohol to people ruining their lives, that I was no better than a drug dealer. My mom just sat there not saying anything. Austin smirked into his mashed potatoes. Then Dad said it. If I wasn't going to be part of the family business, I wasn't part of the family. He was removing me from his will. Everything was going to Austin now. The company, the house, the savings accounts, all of it. I left that night and didn't look back. Austin took over the business 6 months later when Dad retired. He immediately started making changes, fired half the crew to cut costs, started using cheaper materials, took on projects he had no business taking on just because they paid more. Within a year, the company was hemorrhaging money. Austin had underbid 3 major projects and couldn't finish them without going over budget. Clients started suing. The company Dad spent 30 years building was circling the drain. I heard about it through my mom. She'd call me sometimes when Dad wasn't home, tell me how stressed everyone was, how Austin was in over his head, how Dad was having chest pains from the anxiety but refused to go to the doctor. I didn't reach out. They made their choice. Then Dad showed up at my apartment. He didn't apologize, didn't say he was wrong, just stood there in my doorway looking uncomfortable. Finally asked if we could talk. I let him in. He sat on my couch and looked around my place. I could see him taking in the cocktail books on my shelf, the framed certificate from bartending school, the photos of me and my coworkers at competitions. He said Austin needed help. The business was about to go under. They had bills piling up, loans coming due, and no way to pay them. He said they needed $120,000 to keep things afloat. I just stared at him. He actually thought I had that kind of money lying around. I told him I made good money, but not that kind of money. I had maybe $15,000 in savings. That was it. But here's the thing. Even if I did have it, I wouldn't have given it to him. He cut me out, called my job filthy, told me I wasn't family anymore. And now he wanted me to bail out the golden child who destroyed everything Dad built. I said no. Dad's face turned red. Started saying I owed the family. That Austin made a few mistakes, but he was trying. That the business was my legacy too, whether I wanted it or not. I asked him if he remembered what he said to me 3 years ago. Asked him if he remembered calling my career filthy. If he remembered disowning me over making cocktails for a living. He got quiet. I told him Austin made his bed. Dad chose Austin over me. They could figure it out themselves. Dad left without another word. The business closed 4 months later. Austin had to file for bankruptcy. Dad lost everything he'd worked for because he put all his faith in the wrong kid. Mom calls me more often now. Says Dad's health isn't great, that he's bitter about losing the company. She never asks me for money, but I can hear it in her voice. The judgment. Like I could have prevented all of this. Austin tried calling me once, drunk, crying about how hard everything's been, how his wife left him, how he's living in a studio apartment now working as a site manager for someone else's company, how it's not fair. I hung up.